Welcome back to the GCN Racing News Show. Coming up this week, why can't Jonas Vingegaard win the biggest one-day races in cycling? I'll be looking back at his history in the classics after his team rode all day for him at the Clasica San Sebastian on Saturday, only for him to get dropped and eventually pull out. I've also got the latest transfer rumours, including one that could be happening right now, mid-season, and wrapping up the Vuelta Burgos, Arctic Race of Norway and the Olympic track events. This week in the world of racing, we learnt that Remco Evenepoel now has his own street in Belgium. That was Puncheur.be, who did a fantastic job of dedicating an entire road to the man who won 2/3 of Belgium's gold medals at the Olympics this year. For those interested in the address, it's at Heilige Kruiswegstraat, Stepdal, Belgium. We also learned that Sepp Kuss and Jay Vine are back. They were both competing at the Vuelta Burgos last week after months away from competition, and both with great results. Vine, who came very close to life-changing injuries through a crash at the Tour of the Basque Country in April, won the time trial, whilst Kuss won the Queen stage and the overall classification. This Saturday, he is going to start his defence of the Vuelta a España, incidentally. And finally, we learned that Jonas Vingegaard can't seem to translate his stage race form into one-day races. His first race since the Tour de France was on Saturday at the hilly one-day Clasica San Sebastian. So as mentioned, his team rode on the front for much of the day, but when push came to shove, Vingegaard didn't have what it took to follow the best. Which does seem strange, doesn't it, given how ridiculously good he is on the climbs in all stage races, not just at the Tour de France. Now, I was looking back at Vingegaard's results in one-day races. So since turning pro in 2019, he's ridden a total of 24 one-day races. He has had one win at the 2022 Drôme Classic in France, but the only other time he's finished in the top 10 of a one-day race was at the 2021 Clasica San Sebastian. And that is in stark contrast to his main rival, Tadej Pogacar. Since he turned pro at the same time as Vingegaard, he's competed in 58 one-day races, winning 14 of them and finishing in the top 10 at 38. Considering how closely they're both matched in stage races, that huge disparity in one-day classics pedigree may seem surprising. But Vingegaard follows a long list of GC greats who have never had much success in the classics. He's equal to Alberto Contador, for example, who won only one of the 66 one-day races he competed in as a pro, and he's already doing better than Chris Froome, who's never won a professional level one-day race. For a decade or more, it had become the norm to see Grand Tour specialists either shun the classics completely or underperform at them relative to their abilities in stage races. It's really only since Primož Roglič and Tadej Pogacar exploded onto the pro scene that we've gotten used to Grand Tour winners starting and winning some of the biggest classics in the world. It's been fantastic to watch, but my point is that in recent times, it's they who are the outliers rather than Vingegaard. What's the reason for it? I think it's a simple case of motivation and desire. Pogacar and Roglič have wanted to race the classics and wanted to win them. Of course, it helps they've got a half-decent sprint from a small group too, but it's that desire, I think, that sets them apart from some of their counterparts and predecessors. And I'd imagine that Vingegaard just can't muster the enthusiasm for one-day races, or at least not to the same level as he can do for stage races. It doesn't help that he doesn't have much of a sprint in the finale. There aren't many one-day classics which are mountainous enough for him to go solo to the finish line. I guess Lombardia could be one of those, and it'll be interesting to see how he fares there this year, given that his racing schedule has been a little lighter than normal due to his crash and subsequent rehab. So I don't think there's anything wrong with Vingegaard focusing more on stage racing. That's his strength, that's his bread and butter, so why wouldn't he play to that strength? That said, I am grateful that Roglič and Pogacar have focused and been successful in the one-day classics. I think, or at least I hope, that will set a precedence moving forward, and we'll see future stage racing greats also racing and winning cycling's monuments. Anyway, let me know what you think. Should Vingegaard put more emphasis on one-day races? Why do you think he doesn't currently perform in them as well as he does in stage races? You can let me know in the comment section just below this video. On to the race itself then, and as mentioned, it was Visma Lease bike who'd been controlling for much of the Clasica San Sebastian, at least until Vingegaard was distanced on the Gijskebel. Simon Carr of EF was the last man standing of the early breakaway, but soon after he was caught, it was Pavel Sivakov on the attack for UAE. It was an admirable effort by the Frenchman, but with Lotto Destiny working behind, he was caught on the final brutally steep climb of the race, the Pilotegi. By the top, the two strongest riders of the day emerged, Mark Hirschi of UAE and Julian Alaphilippe of Soudal Quickstep. With Van Aertveld unable to close the gap over the top and down the other side, the win would be decided between those two. Twitchy as ever, Alaphilippe was looking for his first one-day win in over a year and a half, but it wasn't to be. Hirschi sprinted at a noticeably higher cadence when he kicked for the line, and Alaphilippe had no answer to that. Van Aertveld took third, which is a great ride by him, as it was in fact by Kevin Vermaerke, who was fourth on the day. Sticking with Julian Alaphilippe for a moment, his team manager, Patrick Lefevre, confirmed at the weekend that they'll be parting ways at the end of this season. That will bring an end to their 11 years together. Alaphilippe has only ever ridden for Soudal Quickstep in its various guises. Now, as yet, it's unconfirmed as to where his new home will be, but according to Ciro Scognamiglio of Gazzetta dello Sport, Tudor Pro Cycling are close to signing him on a 2-year deal. Dan Benson, as ever, has also been keeping a close eye on transfers. On his Substack, he has said that Ethan Hayter could be leaving Ineos at the end of this season and moving to Soudal Quickstep, whilst Alberto Bettiol could be making a mid-season transfer to Astana on what would be a 3.5-year deal for the Italian champion. One transfer that has been confirmed is that Laurence Pithy will move from Groupama FDJ to Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe next year. That will bolster their classics lineup, that's for sure. Right, back to the racing, and I've got to say, it was fantastic to see Sepp Kuss back to his winning ways in Burgos. His stage and GC win there was his first win since the Vuelta last September, but that's not unusual for Sepp Kuss. Having spent most of his career as a domestique helping others, wins have been rare. He's now up to 11 career victories. Behind him, youngsters Max Poole and Finn Fisher-Black took second and third, whilst the stages that I haven't already mentioned went to Caleb Ewan, who won the uphill sprint on stage 2, and Pavel Bittner, who bookended the race with sprint wins. It was a great week for Uno X at the Arctic Tour of Norway. Alexander Kristoff won the opening 2 stages in sprints, taking his career tally to 94, whilst Magnus Cort sealed the overall classification with victory on the 4th and final stage. Cort had been beaten by Team Flanders Balois' Camille Bonneau on the penultimate stage, and just a single second separated the two of them on GC. If you missed any of the racing, you can catch up with it all on Discovery Plus, where you'll also be able to watch a full season of bike racing live and on demand. One of which will be the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift, which kicks off today with a stage that looks set to finish in a bunch sprint. The 8-stage 7-day race will conclude on Alpe d'Huez this coming Sunday. Defending champion Demi Vollering goes in as the big favourite again this year, but there are plenty of strong teams and riders looking to create an upset, particularly at Canyon SRAM and Lidl Trek. We've expanded our French collection t-shirt range. If you head over to shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com, you'll find all the new designs there, and there are a lot to choose from. And as you can see, we've got a range dedicated to Spain as well, so make sure you go and check out the website there. I will finish with a brief wrap-up of the Olympic track events from Paris last week. The standout rider, at least for me, was Harry Lavreyson. Feels like he's been at the top of his game for a really long time now, but he's not getting any slower, is he? He won gold in the Keirin, sprint and team sprint in dominant fashion, with a couple of world records thrown in for good measure. It was a very successful week for the Women's USA team as well. They won the team pursuit, which marked the second gold medal at the Olympics for Kristen Faulkner, whilst Jennifer Valenti doubled up as well with gold in the Omnium. The Madison provided some of the most exciting racing of the week though. Chiara Consoni and Vittoria Guazzini lapped the field in the women's race to take the honours there, whilst Rui Oliveira and Yuri Leitao took one of the most popular gold medals of the entire game in the men's. That was Portugal's first ever Olympic gold medal in cycling. They won the final 4 sprints in succession in the race to beat Italy at the very last. And for Oliveira, that was his first ever pro win. What a way to do it. Laetio had also taken silver in the Omnium behind Benjamin Thomas of the home nation. Australia got the better of Great Britain in the men's team pursuit, where Ethan Hayter had pushed himself so hard he fell off the front of his saddle. Aless Andrews took 2 golds for New Zealand in the Cairn and Sprint. Right, that is all for this week. I'm going to be back on Wednesday with a full preview of the Vuelta a España. It's been such a busy summer, it's almost hard to believe the 3rd men's Grand Tour of the year is already upon us. But thanks for watching the Racing News Show. I'll see you again soon.